Welcome to the Awesomers.com podcast. If you love to learn, and if you're motivated to expand your mind, and heck, if you desire to break through those traditional paradigms and find your own version of success, you are in the right place. Awesomers around the world are on a journey to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. We believe in paying it forward, and we fundamentally try to live up to the great Zig Ziglar quote, where he said, "You can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." It doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're going. My name is Steve Simonson, and I hope you will join me on this awesomer journey.
If you're launching a new product manufactured in China, you will need professional, high-resolution, Amazon-ready photographs. Because Simo Global has a team of professionals in China, you will oftentimes receive your listings photographs before your product even leaves the country. This streamlined process will save you the time, money, and energy needed to concentrate on marketing and other creative content strategies before your item is in stock and ready for sale. Visit simoglobal.com to learn more, because a picture should be worth 1,000 keywords.
You are listening to episode number 92 on the Awesomers.com podcast series, and today is actually the third in a three-part series with Margarita Poluyko. And Margarita is an inspirational entrepreneur in every possible way. She, thus far, has showed and shared her journey from, being born all the way back in Belarus to emigrating to the U.S. and then, struggling to find, quote-unquote proper jobs, and then even struggling in her first businesses. And today she wraps all of that experience together to share, again, how her and her family have teamed up together to put together a very, very impressive business in the e-commerce space. Primarily, they started by selling physical products on Amazon, but they're continuing to expand into other sales channels and really make a true brand. I love the fact that Margarita and the family have been able to leverage that intellectual equity that they banked all those years, and then were able to deploy it in a meaningful way in this new fun e-commerce business. It is a really exciting result and an ultimate success story. People often talk about the American dream, and I would say that Margarita really epitomizes what the American dream is all about. So kudos to her. You're going to love this third in a three-part series today from Margarita. Let's get into it right now. Okay, we're back again, everybody. Steve Simonson, joined by Margarita here on the Awesomers podcast. And did you notice how I just skipped right past the mispronunciation that time, Margarita?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to say Poluyko.
Very good.
Was that right? Oh, whew. All right. So I'm going to sound it out. So as long as I've known you and your brother, my pronunciation is not getting any better. But it's my own hard wiring that is wrong. So again, I'll do better. So before the break, I teased this idea of maybe a big lesson or lessons that you've learned along the way. You've shared some of those already. Do you have any other lesson that stands out in your mind that you want to share with the Awesomers out there?
Yeah, some of the lessons that I did learn were don't overthink it, take action. I like to be prepared for everything, and I do not like taking steps before I analyze everything. But as I learned, sometimes you just have to do it and let it unfold and see if it works. Of course, it has to be a calculated risk, whatever it is that you do, but at some point you do have to let go.
Yeah, I think that final point where you just take the plunge, right? So there's a lot of us in this world that are analysts, right? We really want to analyze everything. We want to see the data, and we want to, see the plan. And there's a fine line between, doing a good evaluation of whatever the opportunity or the idea is, and then there's the idea of we just need to go. We just need to try it. And that's one of the things I love about the internet. Love to get your input on this too, Margarita. The internet allows you to test stuff so fast that whether there's any hope or not relatively quick compared to the old days of, renting a building and hiring employees and, signing up with the electric company. And you kind of have all this massive overhead and all these fixed costs long term. And then you still don't know if any customers are going to show up and buy anything from you. But in the internet, we can just try stuff and have instant feedback, or at least relatively fast feedback. What's your thoughts?
I most definitely agree. It took us several tries, even with the physical product to focus on a specific group of products that actually were successful. But before then, there were certainly several that did not make it. And you're right, it was relatively painless when it comes to time spent and monetary expense to do that.
Yeah, this is what I like to call the salad days of, testing ideas and business models. And even in the private label world, and which I most often refer to as a brand world, you started creating your own products under your own brand, and that gave you the opportunity to just test things. And if one doesn't work, you just kind of cut that thing and you move on to the next thing. And it sounds like you were able to do that without losing faith in the concept. So tell me about that. How did you validate that the concept of the idea was okay, but maybe your first product or products weren't working as well as you wanted?
We were open up to it from the beginning. So we knew going in that not every single product is going to make it. Not every single product or idea are going to work. So we were determined to test them until something stuck, something made sense, something worked. And that's what we did.
I love it. Yeah. I think, that, so your instinct was telling you something here is going to work. You got enough data from those initial product launches to figure out that there was hope, but you just didn't quite hit the scale you wanted to with the first product ideas. Am I getting that right?
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's a lot of people really forget this. So I can remember like the first 20 products I put on Amazon low these many years ago. None of them really took off. None of them worked really well. And everybody always reminds me, oh, it was so easy back in the old days, and it was so easy this or that. And easy and simple, I suppose there's some relevance to some of those based on the time, but it was just different. That's the fundamental point. We had products that we launched that we did not feel that were financially viable long term, even though they sold a lot of dollars. They just, either the feedback wasn't good or the returns were too high, and people need to evaluate all of the factors. Is that how you guys kind of looked at it, in kind of that big picture, holistic way, where you say, sales, margin, returns, customer satisfaction, all of it is relevant?
Yeah, most definitely. But also, to your point, a lot of people say it was so much easier in the olden days, and yes, it was. The competition was not as fierce as it is right now. But at the same time, we didn't know anything about selling on Amazon or elsewhere. Right now, there's so much information that is available. There are so many people that are willing to share their experiences. So on one hand, yes, it was easy, but on the other hand, right now there's a lot more information available to help you be successful.
Yeah, that's quite right. People also don't remember that, Amazon's growing so fast that, 5, 10, I started, over 15 years ago on Amazon with our first efforts. The audience was way smaller. Yes, they were still big,
Sure.
but this idea that, oh, it was, as the audience increases, so does the level of product offerings and so forth. Now they have hundreds of millions of items, perhaps billions of items, I don't know, and the audience is growing. I think Amazon still grew somewhere like 25% last year, and so far year to date like 25% again, which is insane at their size and their scale. Over 130 billion dollars of gross sales, and they can still grow at 25% is insane. That's why they are, a $1 trillion valuation or close to it at this point.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
let me ask you this, Margarita. So once you got going and you felt there's some momentum, how did that take place? From the point where you tried stuff and you're like, there's something here, but it's not quite right. At what point did it start to go, hey, this is a real business?
Well, we started several products, and then we ended up with a few products that made sense, and we began, marketing and testing and trying until we saw that the products were really taking off. So eventually, we made a decision to move from the basement and the garage into an actual warehouse space. And I think for me, the aha moment was, as I mentioned, was hiring those first 3 employees. It's really felt like a business. It really felt like, all right, now we can really concentrate on the big picture and the growth.
Yeah, I can definitely identify with that for sure. So as you moved down, now you have a warehouse, now you have employees, and you had that aha moment where you're like, hey, this is real, this is happening, I like this. Was there any point between then and now where you've ever wanted to kind of give up and go, this is too much for me, or I don't like it, or just any feelings that you ever said, this is just I'm out, I don't want to do this anymore?
I'll be very honest with you. Looking back at all the hardships and hard times that I had gone through, this business, in comparison, is a smooth sailing. I would absolutely find nothing to say.
I love it. So, and I think your point there is something that I want to drive home. It's a relative indicator, right? It doesn't mean it. So somebody else may go, oh well, that means if I start my own brand of business, then it'll just be smooth sailing. You clearly have adversity and challenges that happen in your business today. Yes.
Of course, it's every business, but
Yeah.
it's all relative.
It's all relative. I quite agree. And this is one of the points. This is why I love awesome origin stories like yours, because it helps people put in perspective what really is a real problem and what is just a day-to-day problem, right? And I have repeated often that, our job as entrepreneurs is essentially just to solve problems. We exist to solve problems. That's our key strength. And so the idea that we wake up and go in and we face problems every day, we should embrace that. We should see that as our key opportunity, not a kind of negative thing. And so I assume that you and your brother and your sister, as you are running your business, that you guys solve problems that come up on a pretty regular basis. Is that true?
Yes, definitely. Problems always come up, but again, relatively speaking, they're not big and they're solvable and they're mundane day-to-day problems. But one thing, to your point, also wanted to mention is I try to get uncomfortable regularly. And it might be something within the business or personally. For example, I had never done a podcast. And I knew this is something I would be very, very uncomfortable with. And as you probably noticed, I had said yes almost immediately, because I knew if I was to hold on for a day or two and think about it, I would most definitely say no. But I also knew if I'll commit, I will kill myself, but I'll have it done. It's so important to get out of your comfort zone, because that's how you expand your horizons. That's how you expand your tolerance level, really, for situations or adversities that will come into your life. So get uncomfortable.
Yeah, very good advice. I'm thrilled that, by the way, you were able to take yourself out of the comfort zone to join us on the podcast. Knowing your story and how great it is, and the extraordinary accomplishments that you have made along with your family. I knew that the Awesomers would love to hear your story, and I'm glad that you pushed yourself outside that comfort zone. Thank you for that. Margarita, let me ask you this. Was there a best day in your professional life so far? Was there any day that you just look back and go, man, this was a really good day, based on whatever it was? Anything that stands out in your mind?
Again, if we are talking about this business that I'm in right now, every day is the best day, regardless of problems that we might be facing, because I am extremely, extremely grateful for the opportunities that I have been given. Going back, all the adversities that I had to go through, I would not change it for the world. All the pain, tears, heartache, the difficulties for myself and my family, I would not change it, because it made me who I am, and it put me in a position. I felt like everything led to this moment. So I'm extremely, extremely grateful for every day that is given and for every opportunity that is given to me.
Yeah, bravo. I agree with you entirely. Very good way and very good perspective to think about these things. Let's turn our sights onto something in your day-to-day? Is there a day-to-day tool that you use, something that you find to be really additive? It can be an app or a system or a program or a plugin or just a way of doing things. Anything that stands out in your mind you care to share with other awesomers out there?
Well, if I can wear off a little bit, it's not a tool, it's not a system, it's not a program. It is meditation. And it is fairly new to me. I have only been practicing for about a year and a half. But as cliche as it may sound, it has changed my life. First few weeks after I began meditating, I literally felt like I was, and this is crazy. And if you told me this a few years before then, I would say you're nuts. But I felt like I had superpowers. It felt like I had answers to all of the questions. It's a little bit different now. It's a little bit more subdued, but it still gets the job done. It still clears my mind. It still brings ideas to me. And I would definitely advise everyone to try it. And I really wanted to try it for many, many years because I've heard all these great people talking about it, but I was having a hard time. And the reason why I was having a hard time, because I had a misconception. I always thought that when you meditate, you have to be completely zoned out. And I found it to be not so. Thoughts will come, and they do to me every day. But even if you don't zone out, your mind still becomes clear. Those problems, it kind of, they get filed into different compartments, and you can call on them one at a time and solve them instead of having all of them come at you at the same time. So again, meditation helped me. I did have to take a class eventually, but I do meditate at least once a day, 20 minutes. Most days, 20 minutes twice a day. Also, I think it's very important to know your body, to know what puts you in a peak state. I prefer only working when I'm in my peak state, and through a lot of trial and experience, I'm able to go into my peak state when I need to. I know how to do that. So no one messes with my sleep, and no one messes with my morning routine. So to me, personally, those are very important. And then all the tools come afterwards.
I love it. That's a very vital tool. So you mentioned this idea, and I think a lot of us out there, entrepreneurs and awesomers in general, no matter where you come from, whatever walk of life, we hear about this meditation idea. Where did you end up taking your class? Where did you find a class on meditation?
And again, I'm not endorsing the company. I don't work for a company, but I chose to take transcendental meditation because I heard about it. It was, again, 20 minutes twice a day. This is something that I could fit into my day fairly easily. And it just worked for me. But any kind of meditation that you can, mindfulness or whatever else, whatever works for you, as long as you do it. And sometimes, even if you don't want to meditate, just sit quietly and be still for 20 minutes. It is extremely difficult to do in the beginning, but force yourself to do it for the first couple of weeks, and then you will see what it does to you.
Amazing. I definitely have heard the same type of response from the people who've adopted it, and I think that's a very, very good process and tool for people to consider. Margarita, let me ask you to get out your crystal ball here for a minute. A lot of people, they talk about, things that may change in the future, or perhaps things that won't change in the future. Pardon me. So often we get wrapped up in what is going to change. We forget what's not going to change, which may be equally instructive. What does Amazon look like in 5 years?
In my opinion, Amazon will continue to grow. As you mentioned, it grew by 25% just in the last year. So my prediction, it will continue to grow, it will continue to acquire customer base, and it will help businesses to grow alongside.
And how about in e-commerce in general? Are there going to be competitors who give Amazon a challenge? Are they just going to run away with the whole deal? What's your thoughts on that?
I know they will try. To me, it is very difficult to draw predictions on that end, just because I don't have that background, and I would hate just to talk. So I really don't know. I can't speak to it yet.
Fair enough. I don't think anybody knows the future. That's for sure.
Right.
Are there any other things that you think are coming in the future that you are trying to strategically plan around? And not everybody looks forward, but I'm part of the process of asking the questions to get people engaged in this idea of what's coming, so they start to think about it. Is there anything that you think is coming that you're trying to prepare yourself for?
Well, as far as physical products, we will continue to grow on and off Amazon. We will probably look into investing into other businesses, acquiring other businesses. The only thing I can speak for, and that's again goes back to my real estate background, and you were completely right about that, is the cycle part of it. It's coming. I mean, it is coming. So if you have investments in real estate, I'm not here to scare anyone. I don't know when it's going to happen, but the adjustment will happen.
Yeah, it is inevitable. It's almost like an economic certainty.
Yes.
Now, I would say that if somebody says, hey, this house is worth whatever, $500,000 today, in 10 years, will it be worth more than $500,000? Probably. But there could be some point in between now and then that it goes down. And, I had a house that, was, I bought in like 2001 and I sold it in like 2012, and I basically got out even. And
Yeah.
that was lucky. Honestly, most of the people who had a setback in 2008, 9, 10, 11, they were underwater. They went backwards. And now, had I held from 2012 to 2018, that house would have been probably nearly double. So all these cycles are going to happen. I think it's important, and I appreciate you bringing up that point that corrections happen in every market that of this type. And I think both the stock market and the housing market are due for correction. We've already seen it in the cryptocurrency, and who knows if that one's over or just beginning. But thank you for those predictions. Let me just ask you, as we start to close up, do you have any final words of wisdom? Anything you care to leave with the awesomers out there listening? And that thousands of times this will be heard. So what would you have to say to the folks out there?
Again, I think I will repeat myself, but to me, one of the most important thing, especially for starting out entrepreneurs, is don't overthink it. Take action. Just do it. Just get it done.
I love it. I think that's really, it's, what do they say? It's simple, but not easy, right?
Yes.
All these things are very, just, don't overthink it. Let's take some action and go. And then we realize, oh, this is actual real work, and it's not as fun as, as I thought it would be on every second. But I definitely would agree. And I'm interested to hear your feedback on this as well. When you get in that zone, when you feel that momentum is working, even when you're dealing with the mundane day-to-day problems, it can be an extraordinarily rewarding journey. Do you agree with that premise?
Yes, definitely. That's why, as I said, I only try to work when I'm in my peak state, because something that would take me hours to do might take me only 30 minutes in my peak state. So when I'm not in my peak state, I choose to do other things, maybe read a book, which is also obviously productive, but something that does not take too much energy, because it just takes longer. It makes no sense for me. I'm all for efficiency and productivity. And that's what works for me. Again, it might not work for everyone, but my advice also would be find your peak state and what gets you there. I think this was very important for me to learn, what gets me there, what morning ritual I need to do. And if I need to be in a peak state in the afternoon, what do I have to do to get there?
I think that's really great advice and excellent wisdom throughout this episode, and particularly your closing comments there. Margarita, thank you again for joining me today. It's been great to catch up and share your origin story with the world out there. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, certainly my pleasure. Awesomers, if you're out there listening, we'll be right back after this message.
Hey, Amazon Marketplace professionals, congratulations on your success to date. Your creativity, strategic vision, problem solving, and discipline have allowed you to build your own e-commerce business. Wouldn't it be great if you had more time to focus on the things that truly drive the sales and growth of your company? Instead of getting lost in a dozen different services and countless spreadsheets, what if there was one system that connected to your Amazon account and automatically gave you the information that you needed to make great decisions and really impact your business? Parsimony ERP can do that. Parsimony is the business operating system for your marketplace business. With Parsimony, you get true double-entry bookkeeping, easy financial statements, full customer service tools, and item-by-item profitability, along with project and task management, and more features are being added all the time. Learn more at parsimony.com. That's Parsimony, Parsimony.com. Parsimony.com. We've got that.
Well, again, everybody, watching the evolution and hearing all three parts of this series, I'm sure you could experience the journey along with myself listening, and Margarita as she told the story, from that very humble beginning back in Belarus, immigrating in to the U.S., finding what opportunities she could, and coping with all the changes and all the culture shock and the needing to learn the language and so on and so forth. Really, she learned so many things along the way. And again, it's such a great inspirational story because she was able to put all of that knowledge to work and be able to take all of those experiences, even the ones that were not, to use an American idiom, home runs, right? So for those who are not from America, and it turns out many of my listeners, in fact, I think the majority are from outside America, a home run is a good way of saying something that was a smashing success. Not every single thing that she tried was a smashing success at first. Like all of us, by the way, that's the same history that I have. I had many, things that were, they were adequate. They paid the bills, but they certainly weren't, creating equity in terms of financial wealth or financial equity. They were just kind of paying the bills, and we were really more working in the business than on the business. The business owned us, we didn't own the business, right? To replay some of the phrases from the famous book, The E-Myth. Margarita's story and that of her family is truly inspiring to me. I hope you find it inspiring as well. This is the third part of that three-part series. And it's also episode number 92 on the awesomers.com podcast series. And all you have to do is go to awesomers.com/92 to see all those notes and details. I'm glad you joined us today. I really do encourage you and ask you, if you will, please share this podcast with somebody you care about. Please go ahead and leave us a review. And it's okay if you want to go to awesomers.com/contact and you can tell us how we're doing. That's a direct voice to us. Our associate producers will see that, and I see every single one of those. So whether it's love letters or hate mail, we read it all, and we respect your opinions, and we want to learn more and learn how to serve our people and our audience, and you in particular, better and better every day. Well, we've done it again, everybody. We have another episode of the Awesomers podcast ready for the world. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed our program today. Now's a good time to take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. Heck, you could even leave a review if you wanted. Awesomers around you will appreciate your help. It's only with your participation and sharing that we'll be able to achieve our goals. Our success is literally in your hands. Thank you again for joining us. We are at your service. Find out more about me, Steve Simonson, our guests, team, and all the other Awesomers involved at awesomers.com. Thank you again.